Hi, I'm Adrian Scott. I founded Ryze back in the day, 2001. Ryze was a pioneering social networking site. It was a big influence on Friendster, which of course also influenced MySpace and Facebook. Back in that day, the industry was just recovering from the dot-com bubble bursting. And most venture capitalists were focused on fighting fires, keeping existing companies and their portfolio alive. So there's very little seed funding activity going on at that time. I had just come out of a startup I had co-founded, which didn't do very well, and was recovering from that also. So when I thought about what I might do next and how we might have a business model for Ryze, I decided, let's do something where there's a chance of selling actual services or products to people and being able to fund the startup that way instead of hoping and praying that venture capitalists or angel investors might start opening their pocketbooks and investing again. It was really natural to think of a subscription model in this context, and being able to sell something that people would keep paying each month. So you make a sale once and you keep receiving revenue from that for several months. And that's really a beautiful thing about the subscription model, and something I really like about it. If you start screwing up with the subscription model, you at least you have some time where you've still got revenue coming in while your new subscriptions may drop. So you've got time to fix whatever you've messed up or whatever you need to address next. Now, one of the things that's interesting and fun about subscription model can be versioning of different products and pricing. A lot of folks start off with just two levels, free and a certain payment level. I am a big fan of behavioral economics and things like that, and had read Information Rules, which is a great book. I highly recommend for anybody in the electronic digital environment, creating digital electronic products. One of the neat things that comes out of that book is this concept of the restaurant wine pricing. So if you go to a restaurant, one of the tricks they can do is to have three different classes of wines. The one they are gearing you towards really actually buying, which is obviously going to be at a bit of an expensive price, but they can make that price look a little nicer to you by selling a wine that's a little less expensive but much crappier. So it's like, okay, I get a little bit more, I pay a little more and I get a much nicer wine, or it looks like it must be nicer. And then the other part of the hook is to put a really expensive price entry on the menu for a wine that is looking really expensive but maybe is not that fabulous. So it's like, okay, this is a great deal. It's not the super expensive wine. I'm not blowing the budget, but I'm also not looking cheap for my date. So that's kind of a neat thing, and people tend to buy that middle price item. So I came up with an initial pricing model around that with Ryze. 3 priced levels: bronze, silver, and gold. And along that model, I expect most people to go with the silver and have a few people at the bronze and a few people at the gold. So maybe 80% silver, 10% bronze, 10% gold on the either side. So we start off with $395 a month, $495 a month for the silver, and $995 a month for the gold. Typically, one of the main values that this would give you is an ability to search profiles efficiently. So you could find people in your industry, people with interests like yours, and so on. There are also more little tweaks as you paid more about seeing like your friend network out to 2 or 3 degrees. And one of the extra values of the gold membership at $9.95 was being able to see how which people had visited your profile page. So you could go check out theirs and just have that buzz to see what was going on, who was visiting you. So launched that pricing model with those expectations, and actually found something very different. So instead of most people going silver, we actually had equal pickup between silver and gold. So there were kind of 2 lessons there. Well, a few lessons. First of all, thank goodness we tried this out and didn't just say, oh, you know what, people are only going to pay $4.95, so we'll just launch one price at $4.95. Instead, we had this higher price, and it's like, wow, there's some budget for this. People are willing to pay $9.95 a month if we can give them something of value. And there was enough value there that people were doing it. And probably is also another lesson: people like to see who's visiting their profile as well. So what I did based on that was, I was keeping on building the site, coding the site, building it, and adding more features, and then migrated the pricing model to phase out the bronze and the silver, which at that point were 55% of the subscribers. Obviously, I didn't cancel anybody's subscription, but we just phased those out from offerings, and then add a new pricing layer at the $19.95 price rate, and call that platinum. So instead of $3.95, $4.95, and $9.95 a month, it was now $9.95 and $19.95 a month. And interestingly enough, the distribution was now a little more like we expected originally. So we had 90% of the people, the new subscribers, coming in at the gold range of $9.95 a month, and then 10% coming in at $19.95 a month. Now, you might say, well, okay, if 10% of the people go for this more expensive range, is it really worth having that in there, or should we just not even worry about that and just focus on just having one price point? And so you can look at that a couple ways. Maybe when you're early on, you're starting out, you just want to get one price point out there. That's fine. You can also, now it's a lot easier to do A/B testing with the pricing model, so you can test out different points a lot easier now. But then another way to look at it is think about what your profit margins might be like. And so let's assume we sold about the same amount of subscriptions, but instead of being $20 a month, those 10% were at $10 a month. Well, if your profit margin is around 10%, then you actually have more or less doubled your profit by having that $20 a month option. So if there's a way to double your profits overnight, is that worth exploring? Kind of interesting, no? So anyhow, this is one little example of some of the fun times with Ryze, and I hope this little story has been interesting to you. I'm going to write up a little more if there's interest on things like monthly versus annual subscriptions and what happened there, and maybe some techie stuff on coding as well. I'm an entrepreneurial person, but a techie at heart, coding in all kinds of languages, and with a background in mathematics. So if there are any fun things that you have going on, would love to hear about what projects you're working on. Just shoot me an email or message me on Twitter. Thanks.